It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
Now, we've talked about the main ruling philosophy, whether it's a Chinese communist commander or a German bank owner or the Rothschilds. They all are adherents and worship this Teutonic/Zionist system, and as you said, nothing to do with the Jews. And that's evidence. Mainstream history about Hitler was obsessed with Kabbalah and all the rest of it. And now Madonna and everybody else is that's a part of it. But I want to spend 5 minutes before we take calls on their game plan currently and what you think we're going to see in the next few years, and then more on their master plan. How you see them implementing. They're coming out with laws now of if you've got a genetic disorder, you can't have children. They say what an order is. They're going to drug half of the kids in the schools. They're admittedly drugging the water. I mean, they're hitting us from every angle. And then any ideas you have of us struggling out of this?
Well, I know. I'm at a loss for words because it's such a huge tsunami of ignorance that's sweeping the world, and an avalanche of attack on the human species by these people at the very top. And it's like I was saying before, it's not even political. It's not even philosophical. It's truly demonic, because they were crossbreeding, as I was saying before, crossbreeding animals and humans as far back as the 20s, and probably earlier than that, in the 1800s, that they were talking about such kind of technology that was coming. And when you start looking at how these people are redesigning the human creature so that we will we will be able to at least have the intelligence to do a particular job that is given to us, but our brains will be blank. We can see that now everywhere in schools. Young people, you talk to them, and they're blanks. They just stare past you. They have no idea. Their humanity has been taken away from them. Their ability to think. I was in San Diego working for the Truth Seeker Company a few years back, and one night when the Hale-Bopp comet came over, I walked out in the evening, and the comet was out, and there was a bunch of high school kids out in the parking lot next to my car. And I walked up, and they were all standing there looking at the comet. And so I was talking with them, and they said, well, what is that? And I said, it's a comet. And they said to me, and they were very nice kids, and they were very real. They weren't smart aleck, and they asked, what is a comet? And I was shocked that they didn't know. So I talked with them a little bit about comets and astronomy, etc. And one of the boys said to me, he says, can you answer something that we've all wondered and nobody knows? Where does the sun go when it leaves? We see it come up and we see it go down, but where does it go when it leaves here?
And the next phase will be a cop laughing at you saying there isn't a comet.
Exactly.
I mean, now they think, have you seen Idiocracy that Mike Judge made?
Yes, but God knows there's all kinds of movies out there.
But I mean, in that movie, if you know how to talk, they arrest you as a heretic.
Yeah, I know. I know that.
And it's almost like that now. I mean, you say to a cop, hey, you can't stop me at a random checkpoint. Fourth Amendment, he'll just laugh and go, you're one of them nuts.
That's exactly
I have the
right.
state police on video in Road to Tyranny out of their own squad car. First we show FEMA training, and then we even have video out of the squad car. And they arrest the woman for a pocket Constitution. And the state police are going, I believe this Constitution's illegal. And he starts breathing heavy going, I can't believe she's got one. I can't believe it. I can't believe I mean, I have it. And then another cop comes over and goes, no, wait a minute. Like he's the genius one. I think she might be allowed to have that. No, that's word for word. I mean, I don't take any sardonic pleasure that I'm like a god compared to these people.
I know.
It freaks me out. I'm nobody, and I'm like a god compared to most. And the elite just love it. I'm totally freaked out.
I know. That's what that one comedian said in Hollywood. He said, "I feel like a god among insects because I think."
He just died. That was Carlin.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, my God.
Here's a great quotation from a book. It's on my website, been there for years. It's from the book called The New Totalitarians by Roland Humpert. And in the book, he says this, that Aldous Huxley, and Julian Huxley was his father. Huxley,
you're right, I keep calling him a brother, yeah.
Yes, that's what it was, brother. And so Julian Huxley said something very interesting, and it was quoted in the New Totalitarian book. The quote is this: as political and economic freedom diminishes, sexual freedom tends compensatingly to increase, and the dictator, unless he needs cannon fodder or families with which to colonize empty or conquered territories, will do well to encourage that freedom, in conjunction with the freedom to daydream under the influence of narcotics, the movies, the radio, and it will help to reconcile his subjects to the servitude which is now their fate.
Have you seen the Bertrand Russell quote where he says, a revolt by the slaves, by the time we're done with it, I'm paraphrasing, will be as ridiculous as a revolt of sheep, who are being cut up for mutton?
Yep. And here's another quote. Important. So Alex Frazier Taylor said, he was born 1742, died in 1813, said this, quote, the average age of the world's great civilizations has been around 200 years. These nations have progressed through this sequence from bondage to spiritual faith, from spiritual faith to great courage, from great courage to liberty, and from liberty to abundance, from abundance to selfishness, from selfishness to complacency, from complacency to apathy, and from apathy back to dependence, and from dependence back to bondage.
Yeah, let me read you Bertrand Russell, who they claim is a great liberal who said exterminate the blacks. Gradually, by selective breeding, the congenital differences between rulers and ruled will increase until they become almost different species. A revolt of the plebes would become as unthinkable as an organized insurrection of sheep against the practice of eating mutton. Now, that's exactly what you've been talking about. Here's another one. Although the science will be diligently studied, it will be rigidly confined to the governing class. The populace will be allowed to know how its convictions were generated. When the technique has been perfected, every government that has been in charge of education for a generation will be able to control its subjects securely without the need of armies or policemen. That was out of his book, The Impact of Science and Society, 53. Now, let me just say this. Now, I told the story yesterday on the air again, and I told it a few months ago because it was shocking to me. About a year ago, Endgame was getting ready to be finished in a few months, and my parents came by to pick me up at my office because I was working on a Saturday afternoon, and my daughter had a ballet recital, and they picked her up. So we're going to the ballet recital. I don't know why I tell that part of the story, but the point is, I guess because I don't want to sound like a little kid, my parents picking me up. The point is, they pull into the office. My mother comes in. She's real smart, has a degree in history. She's sitting there watching the film where I'm talking about how they plan to exterminate us, and we're showing the quotes. And she goes, but I know some of them say that, and I've read it, but they really planned that? And we're driving in the car, and my dad goes, let me just tell you a story. He was in the Texas Academy of Young Scientists, and when he was in junior in high school, he was already at UT in an advanced research deal. They took 125 of the smartest kids in the state, and he was 6th selected of that, and the head of the botany department was running it, named Speer. He was a German immigrant, and he took him into this room, and he said, listen, you're going to work for the government. It's a new world order. It's eugenics, and we're going to exterminate everybody after we're done. But he goes, this will happen many years from now, probably when you're older, but, you are the elite. Now, look, they weren't just going after my dad and 5 others in Texas. They got tens of thousands. And he said no. But the point is, this isn't just in books for me. They tried to recruit my dad because he was salutatorian. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, I know, but I've heard the same thing from FBI men that I've known and CIA people I know and all kinds of interesting people around the world that I've been, fortunate enough to meet and to be in their private company. I've sat in Egypt and listened to scholars there talking about what they know about what's going on in the Middle East. This kind of information has been out there from day one, but most people are not privileged to know anything about it, and just as well because they're not interested to know until it comes home to them.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.